The Saline Valley never disappoints, and this adventure was no exception. The weather forecast was bleak, almost to the point where you would question whether or not to make the adventure. But being the hardy souls we are, born with the spirit of adventurers, we were all in. For those of you who have made the trip, you know. For those who will make it at some time in the future, you will be surprised. We entered the valley from the south, off Highway 190, near Olancha. Let's talk about the we. First we have Katie's Tacoma, followed by basically base camp, followed by your favorite door gunner, and then followed by yours truly, Reptile Robbo. And let's not forget about the most adorable canine, Doa. The most ideal spot for the first night of camping is the boxcar. What is the boxcar, you ask? It's not a real boxcar, despite the name, but close enough. It's a narrow, elongated miner's shack from the 1930s, hauled to this location over the hills by mule or madness. The plateau here is at about 5,500 feet, so be prepared for snow during the coldest winter months, but not to fear. The boxcar offers a cozy respite. Its shot-out old black potbelly stove roaring to life, hammering away the desert chill. Step inside to take away the nip from the tip of your nose and ears. Feel your hands and fingers tingle in pain as the chill leaves and the warmth enters. It's a wonderful atmosphere to prepare your evening meal or warm your morning coffee. Be warned that you are just a visitor, and when you arrive, you may get a nice little welcome from one of the year-round inhabitants. It is well stocked with apocalyptic supplies, dented tin cans from the Eisenhower era, stale candy bars long past their expiration date, and whatever other provisions the previous group was uninterested in hauling away. The walls are a gallery of desert scripture, names carved in block letters, intertwined with ballpoint and Sharpie doodles of scorpions, desertscapes, and shooting stars. The walls are adorned with the names of those who have journeyed to this desert's edge. One corner blooms with ink calligraphy, looping verses of Kerouac and some anonymous sage. The walls are decorated with two pictures that I took, a stately cannon taken at the castle in Monte Carlo and an old piece of farm equipment taken in the highlands of Scotland. It's not much, a miner's folly reborn as an off-roader's haven. But in that narrow iron womb, with the desert's vastness pressing at the seams, you feel the pull of all who came before. The prospectors with pickaxes and fever dreams, the hippies with tie-dye and tambourines, the solo souls seeking the silence that only the empty places can give. And when you finally pack up all your gear and fire up your rig, the cabin shrinks in the review mirror, just another rust-red scar on the land. And you come to understand that some places aren't found. They find you. The boxcar has no locks and has no fees. It is a first come, first serve. When you arrive, send the American flag that is stored inside up the newly installed flagpole that commemorates and celebrates a gentleman who has recently passed, and leave this magical place cleaner than you found it. From the boxcar, we continue on the Saline Valley Road to the South Pass and the Hunter Mountain turnoff. The elevation at this junction is closer to 6,000 feet, and snow can be expected in the winter months. But with an off-road 4x4 vehicle, you should not have any issues. We had about 4 inches of fresh powder, which made the going wet and sloppy, but made for a fun snowball fight at the pass. There is a majestic lookout point just as you crest South Pass. You will be treated with a spectacular view of Panamint Valley and all its wonder. From South Pass, we began our descent into the valley, a drop of close to 5,000 feet. For the first few miles, the descent is steep and winding. We had a few inches of new snow to contend with, which added to our adventure, a little slipping and a little sliding. A few miles after leaving South Pass, the grade lessens and the winding stops, but then you enter hell on earth, washboard roads, more like speed bump roads. Miles and miles of bone-jarring, teeth-rattling bumps and boulders that will shake out loose fillings and chip tooth enamel. It feels like someone is taking a jackhammer to your spine and they are laughing while they are doing it. You wonder how long your vehicle can take this relentless pounding. You have the sense that any minute every nut and bolt on your vehicle will shake loose and parts will begin falling off and littering the dusty trail whence you just came. You keep asking yourself how and why and how much more. Finally, you intersect Lippincott Mine Road, a little reprieve from the abuse, which will take you to the famous racetrack and the sailing stones. One of the sayings is that you don't drive Lippincott Pass, you survive it. It starts innocently enough, a faint scar of an old mining road heading up the mountain. We opted for this exciting little excursion. It's an out and back. And as the crow flies, it's only a few miles, but these miles will take you hours plus, depending on traffic and photo ops. The ones that do head up are either very experienced or about to become so. About a quarter of the way up, you pass the entering Death Valley National Monument sign, definitely a photo op. The Park Service does recommend high clearance, four-wheel drive on Lippincott Pass. Lippincott doesn't care about your winch or your skid plates or your Instagram. It is a litmus test made of stone and gravity. Pass it, and every other tough road feels like a parking lot. Fail it, and the desert keeps your story the way it keeps 1,000 others, quietly, completely, without malice. The pass is like a chameleon. The weather, landslides, and vehicle traffic is constantly changing the landscape and degree of difficulty. Some of the grades are close to 30%. Your brain refuses to believe until the hood of your vehicle points at the sky. No guardrail, no shoulder, no mercy. When I was coming down, I noticed car parts deep down in the canyon. The road is extremely narrow and exposed and does consist of two-way traffic. Pretty challenging when the road drives like a one-way road. Keep your eyes open for turnouts. There are a few, and be prepared to use them. When you do come upon oncoming traffic, you will be praying or hoping that they offer to do the backing up. There are a few very tight switchbacks that may require backing up, depending on the length of your vehicle. What does all this stress and white knuckling get you? Views on a clear day that will take your breath away. To the west, the entire Saline Valley, spread out like a salt white sea. An unobstructed view of the majestic snow-covered eastern Sierra mountain range that tops out at over 11,000 feet. When you finally crest Lippincott Pass, something shifts. Your hands stop shaking, your jaw unclenches, your sphincter loosens up, and you begin smiling like an idiot because you danced on a rocky blade and conquered. And after you visit the racetrack comes the fun part. You turn your vehicle around and do it all again in reverse. But now you are experienced. The racetrack playa is a 3-mile-long, perfectly level dry lake, elevation at 3,700 feet, made of hexagonal mud tiles so hard and flat you can roller skate across it. In a park famous for extremes, this is the most surreal spot of all. Dozens, sometimes hundreds of rocks, some weighing hundreds of pounds, sit at the ends of long, elegant tracks etched into the mud. The trails are straight, curved, zigzagged, or abrupt 90-degree turns. Some stones travel alone, others look like they're racing in pairs. For over a century, no one had ever seen them move. When we arrived, it was not the typical racetrack day you see in the photos. It was a lake, water covering the whole racetrack right up to where the sage grows. Near the shallow shores, we could see the heads of some of the sailing stones sticking out above the waterline. The reason for the movement of the stones was finally discovered in 2014 by researchers with a boatload of time, years, and time-lapse cameras and GPS units. It was exciting to think that we could be at the precursor of the phenomenon happening. Rainstorms, freezing temperatures, ice sheets, a gentle breeze that moved the sheets, that nudged the stones, that slide in the liquid mud with almost no friction, only moving a few inches a minute, but the stones keep on sailing winter after winter, and the tracks can be miles long. The sailing stones are no longer a mystery, but they're still magic. They move at the pace of geology, a few meters per winter, witnessed by almost no one, yet they leave calligraphy on the earth that lasts longer than any human art. In a place defined by heat and death, they remind you that even a stone can go wandering if the conditions are just right and patient enough. When you are there, remember to visit the grandstand, a huge rock outcropping at the north end that sits in the middle of the racetrack. And if you close your eyes and let your mind wander, you can vision it speckled with hundreds of spectators watching the stones racing around the track. Down Lippincott Pass and to the Saline Valley Road, and you guessed it, more washboards. This section happened to jar my check engine light on. That would follow me home like a souvenir. Basically, Base Camp, the Boy Scout of the group, who has everything and can fix everything, had his trusty diagnostic computer, which identified about 11 faults. Luckily, none of them too serious, and our adventure continued. It is at about this time in the valley that you start to see the real locals, the burros, dozens of them, dotting the landscape, doing what they do best, surviving this God-forsaken place. They are tough and extremely hardy. They have to be, or they perish. The next stop, the Saline Valley Salt Lake, which it was, a lake. In previous visits, it has been dry and you could walk on it for miles. The way the salt formed was amazing and beautiful. The other super cool thing about the Salt Lake is it is where the salt tram begins. The Saline Valley Salt Tram, America's steepest, loneliest, and most insane aerial tramway, built between 1911 and 1913 and operated for a little over 15 years. It brought salt from Saline Valley to Swansea. I've been to the 8,880-foot summit several times, which is the holy grail of the tram. Some people call it the eighth wonder of the industrial world, and you will believe it if you ever explore it from beginning to end. Next stop, the Saline Valley Sand Dunes. They look and feel amazing if you are there when they are not being actively formed. It takes howling winds at 40 to 60 miles per hour to produce the dunes. Take off your shoes and stay a while if it's not too hot. Watch how your feet collapse the sand and give it the illusion that it is flowing like water. Best time to take photos is sunrise and sunset when the shadows are at their peaks. The pinnacle of the adventure was next, the Saline Valley Warm Springs, a true oasis in one of the most inhospitable and unforgiving places on earth. Palm trees and warm spring water greet weary travelers. Camping is plentiful and the bathrooms are immaculate. Well, as immaculate as a bathroom in the middle of nowhere can be. The grounds are run and kept by volunteers, so a big shout out to them for their dedication and hard work. After getting camp set up and feasting on handmade calzones by your favorite door gunner, they were awesome. We enjoyed an evening campfire under the heavenly skies. Then we were off to the upper warm springs, usually less crowded than the lower ones. We were in luck. We had the upper springs all to ourselves. The night is when the springs feel most like another planet. The water stays blood warm while the air drops into the 50s. The pool is the temperature of fresh coffee left on the counter too long. Perfect. The water smells of stone and minerals. When you sink in, the soothing heat climbs your calves, thighs, chest, until your heartbeat slows to the pace of a sleeping bear. Tiny bubbles bead on your skin and pop with a faint mineral tang. It feels like you're being wrapped in the finest mulberry silk, comfortably cocooned. It's soft, slightly salted, and loaded with natural lithium. After 20 minutes, your shoulders drop, and the voice in your head that pays the bills finally says, "Shut up." The spring is stoned and cemented with love and care and feels perfect every place it touches your tired and washboard worn-out body. We had timed the adventure just right. No moon in the sky. The Milky Way poured itself across the sky like someone knocked over a bucket of diamonds. So thick, it looked like you could steer it with a spoon. Overhead, the occasional shooting star, but my wish had already come true, to be in a magical place that rejuvenated the mind, body, and soul and brought your senses alive. We soaked until our bodies pruned. Feeling rejuvenated and alive, we headed back to camp, which was about a half a mile away. Luckily, we were sober enough and had a good sense of direction. It's dark in the desert with no moon, almost like having your eyes closed. We could have easily wandered around until the morning light would have shown us the way to our camp. We were put to sleep by the yips of the local coyote gang, and I myself slept deeply and soundly until the fresh morning light gently shook me awake. After some breakfast and getting the gear packed up and the rigs loaded, we were off to explore one of my favorite places in the valley, a nondescript canyon that looks like a scene out of the movie The Land That Time Forgot. The water in this canyon is spectacular. You would think you were on some tropical island, not in the Valley of Death. Green moss and lush ferns grow out of the solid rocks that normally yield nothing in this unforgivable and forlorn place, water cascading 100 feet down the side of a mountain. I stand there at the base of the waterfall and do a slow pirouette, taking in the 360-degree beauty. I wonder how this dry, sun-baked, wind-chapped mountain could possess so much life-giving liquid gold. I'm not really looking for an answer. I'm just glad it does, and that the mountain is willing to share. No trail exists, and the hike in is treacherous. It consists of bushwhacking, bouldering, and rock scrambling, but at the end of it all, you are rewarded to something special, cool mist showering your body and soul, washing away the grit and the filth of everyday life. Now the journey out of the valley via Saline Valley Road, the flat, dusty, dry desert landscape gently transforms into life-giving mountains and pine trees. We were treated to more gorgeous, clean white snow as we climbed the thousands of vertical feet that would lead us back to the crazy, fast-paced life of civilization. As we eased our trusty steel steeds, wearing a cloak of mud and dust like a badge of honor, back out onto smooth, welcoming pavement, I thought about the miles we punished our trucks and our bodies, not because they deserved the punishment, but because the punishment brought us together and taught us something about ourselves. I thought about how lucky we are to be able to put our trucks into four-wheel low and slow to a crawl so that we could enjoy life at a snail's pace, breathing in and drowning in the scents of sage, pines, and the raw earth. I thought about the friendships forged and the memories made. Every adventure ends up developing its own personality, shaped and groomed by the weather, terrain, location, the pitfalls, the surprises, and the people. This one was no different as it grew into something magical and unforgettable. The Saline Valley is proof that the world is still wild enough to break you open and gentle enough to put you back together if you're willing to drive far enough and let go of everything that isn't essential.